How did you manage that? Celia asked, recovering from the shock. Magic. I'm blessed with the light. Didn't you hear the news? Lith replied. Celia tried to search her memory until she remembered what she had heard in town. So, you're the magic kid that everyone in Lutia's talking about. That explains a lot, including your shitty attitude. Excuse me? You're the one that took advantage of a little kid asking for help, forcing him to accept a terrible deal and even laughing at his effort, and I'm the one with the shitty attitude? Lith said, so angry that he wanted to kill her. Celia laughed heartedly. You're a strange kid. First, when you go asking strangers for help, the best you can hope for is to be sent away with a kick in the butt. If I accepted every charity case, I would have gone broke by now. Second, you had the guts to slam the door in my face and then come back as if nothing happened. That's a shitty attitude. When presented with these facts, Lith had to agree with her. For the last 4 years, his only interactions had been with his family. He had become used to getting his way, and he had forgotten basic social rules and even lacked common sense. This was only exacerbated by his constant hunger. It made him irritable and prone to angry outbursts. Lith realized that Celia was right, and that what he had done in the morning was just a stupid tantrum. I'm really sorry, he said earnestly, looking her in the eyes. I have no excuses for my behavior, and I would understand if you wanted to call off our deal. But Celia only laughed harder. Not so fast, kid. I said that you're a little crazy and you're definitely rude, but I like that. As you said, I'm also a bit of a jerk myself, and game recognizes game. Our deal still stands. She gave him a small knife with a wooden handle. Let's start. Rule number 1, bleed out the game as soon as possible. If the blood starts clotting, the meat is ruined. You have to make a deep incision in the neck, and then hang them upside down to get all the blood out. She pointed him to the clothesline. If you don't need the fur, just cut off the head. It speeds up the process. Lith put down the knife and conjured water that enveloped his whole hand. Then, he froze it and turned it into a razor-sharp blade, which he used to cut off the birds' heads. He used Celia's knife for the squirrels. Celia whistled in approval. Nice trick. I'm glad you're not the squeamish type. I'm too hungry to care about guts and blood. I only see food. That's the perfect attitude for a hunter, she said while giving him a thumbs up. She took the bleeding game and hung them for him, thinking that the clothesline was too high for Lith to reach. Lith let her. Since now we're sort of a master and apprentice, do you mind telling me why you came to me instead of asking your parents to teach you? After all, this is something every farmer knows how to do. It would be very expensive to have someone else butcher your livestock. Indeed, Lith said, carefully thinking about his answer. He looked her straight in the eyes before asking, Can you keep a secret as part of our master and apprentice relationship? Celia nodded, eager to know what he had to say. Lith proceeded. As far as I can remember, my brothers and I never had a good relationship. Things are pretty bad, particularly with my older brother. Lith decided that he needed to unload his feelings on someone else. Talking to a stranger was the best way to relieve his stress and ruin Orpal's reputation. Honesty was indeed the best policy. I don't know if it's because of my magic powers, but I've always eaten a lot. That wouldn't be a big issue if I didn't have 4 older siblings, one of which has an incurable illness. Her treatments are very expensive, and they barely manage to keep her alive. That's why I always thank the gods that I was an only child. But what does that have to do with your older brother and not asking your parents to teach you how to butcher? Celia asked. Lith pretended he didn't hear the question and continued. This means that despite my parents' hard work, we don't have much food on the table. At this point, Lith pointed at his thin arm to get some pity from her. My brother is also growing up, and he would like to eat a lot more food than what he's getting right now. From time to time, especially during the winters, he has fits of rage where he accuses me of everything that has gone wrong with his life. He often will say awful things to my parents and me like, Why did you have so many children if you can't feed them properly? Why does Lith receive almost the same amount of food as me? He does nothing while I work my ass off in the fields all year round. He is not my brother. He is a leech that is sucking my life away. I wish I would have died on that cursed day. Lith ended his tale while trying to do his best Orpal impression. Are you trying to make me feel bad for you, kid? Because you're succeeding. That's pretty sick behavior, Celia said gravely. I wish I was making this up, but it's the sad truth, Lith said with a sigh. Did your father give him a good spanking? Maybe that could help him come to his senses. Lith shook his head. This started when I was very little, and even after talking proved to be useless and my father resorted to spanking, it only made things worse. Orpal can't stand me. He hates me so much that I'm forced to sleep in my sister's room. What a bastard, Celia mumbled. What? Lith asked. Nothing. Continue. That was my life until a year ago. Once I started practicing magic, I soon was able to do almost all the household chores by myself. Sometimes I even helped with the livestock as well. I even managed to keep my sister's illness under control. Lith took a deep breath before adding, at least most of the time. Then I'm guessing things have become better, right? Celia asked. Wrong. The house needs constant repairs, and so do the barn and the henhouse. If you consider all of the unexpected stuff that constantly needs to be dealt with, I don't see our situation improving anytime soon, and neither does my brother. But now he can't blame me anymore, so now he's taking it out on my sick sister, saying horrible things that I refuse to repeat out loud. Lith spat on the ground to get rid of the disgusting taste that memory gave him. He even said it would be better for her to... Lith pointed at the game hanging from the clothesline. To put her down like an animal? Gods, you and I may be jerks, but your brother is insane, Celia said. Lith gritted his teeth, Orpal's words echoing in his mind. It would be much better for her, for all of us. She can't run, she can't work. Tista will never be able to make friends, fall in love, or have children of her own. She's bound to be a burden her whole life. What will happen when you guys die? Who will take care of her? Rena? Or maybe the little leech Wonder Boy? Lith vividly remembered his mother crying after hearing Orpal's cruel words. Rena and Tista ran to her mother's arms, and Raz gave Orpal such a beating that he couldn't walk for days. Lith returned to the present and agreed with Celia's statement. That's why I despise him so much, and I don't want him touching a single piece of my game. I understand. I don't even know him and I already hate him so much, Celia said. I don't hate him, Lith said. Hate, just like love, is an irrational feeling, while my contempt for him has excellent reasons and motives. Such profound thoughts for someone so young, Celia said, impressed. The mark of a true hunter. Enough chit-chat. Time to get to work. Celia took down the squirrels and handed one to Lith. We will start with the little critters. They are smaller and ideal for practice. And even if you mess up, it's no big deal because there isn't a lot of meat on them. She placed a squirrel on a cutting board and prepared another one for Lith. What I am going to teach you applies to most rodents. However, if you find a rabbit that still has white fur, bring it to me. It's only valuable before it starts turning brown for the spring, and even a tiny mistake can ruin the fur and lower its value. If you want me to teach you properly, let's do things my way. Use the knife I gave you, do as I do, and follow my lead. Celia handed him the short knife. Lith nodded in agreement. On the squirrel's back, pinch its hide and cut it near the base of the neck to expose at least half of it. Then use your index and middle finger on both hands to create an opening after you've cut. Afterward, use one hand to pull the skin toward the rear, and the other towards the head. During the process, Lith understood that skinning a squirrel was just like taking off a sticky wet glove, only much more disgusting. After that step was completed, Celia showed him how to remove the head, the legs, and the tail. The sad part is that the bushy tail is not fur. It's just body hair. You can still use it to stuff things because it's warm and soft, but it's not very valuable. Now, pay attention because here comes the tricky part. When you're gutting anything, be careful where you make the incisions. If you cut open the bladder or the intestines, the meat will get ruined because of all the fluids. There is no saving it. This applies to all the animals, so focus. Gutting the squirrel was a bloody and gruesome process, but Lith could already smell the meat coming from it, so he barely felt any discomfort. When they finished, Celia put both squirrels on a skewer to roast them in her fireplace. While we wait for our morning snack, I'll show you how to scald a bird to loosen the feathers and prepare them for plucking. The key is not to make the water either too hot or too cold. Just warm enough for you to be able to put your fingers in it without getting burned, but only for a second. That's when you know you have the right temperature. Celia took a big cauldron and positioned it over a fire she had always ready to go at the back of her house. It can be a messy job, so it's better to do it outside if possible. The smell of the meat cooking inside the house was making Lith's mouth water. He could not afford to risk shoving his hand in there and burning it. "Joran," he said. With this command, the cauldron was immediately filled with water. Lith then stuck his hand in the water and said, "Infiro," making it hot. Celia whistled in approval. Fast and efficient. I'm starting to enjoy this master-apprentice relationship more and more. I understand now why that old hag Nerea called dibs on you. We are almost ready to proceed. But first, Celia went inside and returned with 2 little plates of roasted squirrels. But before she could even pass him the plate, Lith had already snatched the food, wolfing it down like there was no tomorrow. He sucked and gnawed until only a handful of bones were left on the plate. After licking every single one of his fingers, Lith returned to his previous calm and composed demeanor. "What a gentleman," Celia said in a sarcastic tone. "Would you like another serving? Because that was a little scary, and I know a thing or two about—" Lith ignored her mockery and only focused on the second squirrel. As soon as Celia made to offer him her share, his hands went for it. After he devoured the second squirrel, Lith noticed that Celia was completely frozen in shock. Her mouth was wide open, but no words were coming out of it. She was still holding the now empty plate. He gently put the bones back on it. "There was no need to hold the plate out for me, but thank you. That was very kind of you," he said in her same mocking tone.